Hey everyone, watch this review here with a look. Oh, right. Now, if you follow Star Wars The Clone Wars, this might be spoilers of some sort if you haven't watched up to a certain point. I don't watch it myself, so I'm not really sure how big of spoilers this may be, but I'm going to be taking a look at Prey Vizla from Star Wars The Clone Wars. I've actually only seen this figure in one store so far, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure why that is or anything, because the other figures from the line I've seen in other places. I don't know if they just didn't make many of him, or if he's a popular character or whatever, but he definitely looks like he would be a popular character. A little bit of a read-up with the aforementioned spoilers. Basically, he's part of a Mandalorian Knights revival. So he's got all that really cool stuff going for him, including this really awesome-looking black Mandalorian armor. I've always really liked the design aesthetics for these troops, which is the big reason of getting this. I personally don't know anything about the Clone Wars. I haven't watched that many episodes because I don't really like the art style or the acting or, well, pretty much anything. But I'm not going to speak ill about the series because I understand some people out there do like it, and personally I think it is better than Gennady Tarski or whatever that Dexter's Lab guy's Clone Wars or whatever Star Wars animated series was before this. At any rate, like mentioned on a previous video, the new Clone Wars packaging is basically the same as the Saga Legends, so it also features the game and everything, but it doesn't have the secret weapons. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to have a closer look. As mentioned earlier, I've only seen this particular character in one store. It's a Toys R Us Express, and I'd hesitated on picking it up just because they have physical stickers on the cards, which I do save, and as I was worried, when removing the sticker, I did damage the card somewhat. Plus, it's kind of banged up in the first place, but it's a little bit of a downer. As for the figure itself, looks really cool out pack and has a good amount of articulation, especially by Star Wars standards. Now I've noticed some of the Clone Wars stuff lacks articulation, but then other figures kind of have it. For instance, here he is. We have this IG-86, which has ball-jointed legs and arms, which, even the IG-88 from the Saga Legends line doesn't have, so Hasbro's just kind of arbitrary like that, and really annoys me sometimes, but, very cool looking figure. He does have a cloth cape. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with fabric and figures. In this instance, I do kind of like it just because with the rocket pack on the back, you have to flip the cape around, and, the actual fabric gives it a kind of more realistic look anyway. So, no biggie. Now, as for the accessories, let me just quickly run through these. It comes with a helmet, this dark sword, or dark saber, the usual die, his little card here in case you're wondering what his values were, because they keep it hidden in pack. We don't hide things in this channel. And apparently also some sort of a redemption offer for another figure that I wasn't aware of, as well as some code. Wow, who the heck's this dude? Sergeant Brick. I'm gonna have to look this one up later, but he looks like he's straight out of the Twilight Zone with that head. Let's see, it needs 5 UPCs from... Yeah, I can probably actually cover that if I want him. So I picked up a few lately, and I think I have enough to cover the Boba Fett redemption as well. But I'm fairly impressed with the look of this figure, although, obviously I'm not as much a fan of the animated look as the normal series, so let's toss the helmet on here. So now he looks more like your standard Star Wars figure. Pretty good looking. One complaint, though, I just don't like how they sort of work the torso here. I wish they'd have a cut here at the chest, and then sort of at the lower portion you'd have the actual rotation or whatever, but, functionally speaking, the joint does sort of work because you still have the cut from between the armor and the portion underneath, so it does have a more natural look to it. Of course, given that these characters are from the animated series, I mean, that's probably not as big of an issue anyway. Now, if you want to remove his pistols here, he has holsters on the side, which is pretty useful, but given the fact that I usually have trouble getting the pistols and stuff to stay for other figures, I think I'll probably leave these in for a while, until I'm ready to display him with a sword. Now, what the downsides with the whole cape and everything is, I think it came pre-wrinkled, but in general, I'm not as big of a fan of fabrics just because they kind of wear over time. I could do a whole video on fabric versus plastic, though. A quick run-through of articulation, because I'm just sort of discussing it anyway. The head does look up quite a bit. Now, I think the natural head looks up more than... No, actually, it's kind of weird. The actual head itself doesn't have too much rotation up and down, but thanks to the helmet and the looseness here, you can actually manipulate it so it looks like it's looking up a lot further than it physically can, which is a really cool touch, but obviously unintentional. But 360 rotation, cape rotates. I mentioned you'd probably pop the head off to get the cape off if you wanted to, or stretch this little cord here, neither of which I will do. Ball jointed shoulder, ball and socket here at the elbow. The wrists will rotate. Good range of rotation of the torso joint here. Now this is the part that excites me. He has ball jointed legs, which, you know, is kind of a rarity with a lot of Star Wars figures. Not great ball joints though, because I mean even then the range of motion is kind of sucky. Because it's kind of got like those one-line ball joints you have in like the Iron Man 2 line and a lot of other figures where it only kind of moves to the portion it's turned out, but as a result, because he doesn't have the other part, you can't really angle the legs as much as you might like. But ball and socket knees, then ball and socket here at the ankle. Good amount of detail in the figure. I mean, I like the look of the boots. The entire costume has a somewhat chiseled look to it, which is kind of more typical of the animated series where they went for harsher lines and stuff. It's a design aesthetic I feel works well with armor, just not necessarily with faces. But you know, the head sculpt isn't that bad. It looks pretty decent. I'm not sure if he was naturally bald in the back of the head like this in the show, but don't particularly care for that in terms of character design. All in all, I do like this character. I'm just not sure how I'm going to display him right now, but let's toss him next to some bounty hunters. To give you guys some idea of scale, we have Bosk and Dengar here, but also classic armor Iron Man from Wave 3 of Marvel Universe, so you know, it's basically the same height as this figure, but a wee bit shorter. By the way, I'm not sure what the hell this coat actually does, but if anybody wants it, here it is. I'm not sure if it's one use or multi. I don't really care either way, but I imagine if multiple people try to redeem it and it doesn't work, that would be the reason why it doesn't work. But yeah, until next time, folks.